Buenos días, gente. Vamos para la plena. Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal. No le cambio por ninguna, que me paguen un capital. Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal. No le cambio por ninguna, que me paguen un capital. Ay, en la tierra de mi abuelo, de mi madre y de mi papá. Puerto Rico, yo te adoro, no te puedo olvidar. Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal. No le cambio por ninguna, que me paguen un capital. Ay, aunque me traigan la luna, el cielo y el mar. Puerto Rico, yo te adoro, no te cambio por nada. Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal. No le cambio por ninguna, que me paguen un capital. Ay, aunque este año no puedo respirar, por mi boricua en bella, camino mi desliga. Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal. No le cambio por ninguna, que me paguen un capital. Que me paguen un capital, que me paguen un capital, que me paguen un capital, que me paguen. Ay, que mi boricua en bella, que me paguen un capital. Ay, no te cambio por nada, que me paguen un capital. Ay, Lucy, que te la sala, paguen un capital. Ay, que me paguen un capital, que me paguen un capital. Vaya, Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal. No la cambio por ninguna, aunque me paguen un capital. Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal. No la cambio por ninguna, aunque me paguen un capital. Y la pandemia y el racismo no quieren separar. Alza tu bandera boricua, gritemos batalla. Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal. No la cambio por ninguna, aunque me paguen. Y vuelve. Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal. No la cambio por ninguna, aunque me paguen un capital. Ahí. Wow. ¿Y qué manera de empezar? Buenos días, good morning, everyone.
Good morning, everyone. Buenos días, buenas tardes. No, sí, buenos días todavía.
Sí, welcome to Sábado Familiar. On behalf of el Museo del Barrio, we're so happy to be here. This is
Julia Loisa Gutiérrez Rivera. You almost forgot my name.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
And Juan José Gutiérrez Rodríguez, and we are members of Pleneros de la 21. We're so happy to be here with you today. Están visitándonos. We are in la sala de nuestra casa, esperándolo a que ustedes estuvieran aquí con nosotros. So, with much love, con toda el deseo del mundo de tenerlos aquí. ¿Okay? Y estamos aquí celebrando y en grande, ¿verdad? Celebrando con nuestra identidad y nuestra cultura puertorriqueña, pero eso es la cultura de todo el mundo, la cultura nuestra, la cultura de todos, lo que nos atrae, lo que nos identifica. Y algo que nos identifica muy bien a nosotros es la música, la comida también, ¿verdad que sí? Pero en el caso de la música tradicional, lo que llamamos el 6, el aguinaldo y por supuesto lo que acabamos de hacer, la plena puertorriqueña. Después hablaremos de la bomba, Julia.
So we are here gathered today from our living room, nuestro barrio en el Bronx, to los barrios y la sala, your living rooms everywhere, celebrating what is Puerto Rican cultural heritage. We are in recognition of the weekends of New York's National Puerto Rican Day Parade. We unfortunately cannot be in the streets, but we always find a way to celebrate our heritage, our culture, our pride, our community. We hope that you will enjoy spending some time with us, exploring a little bit of what our musical expressions from Puerto Rico are. Juan will mention a couple of those genres, seis, el aguinaldo, and a little bit of what we just demonstrated earlier on today called La Plena. I hope you are all in your homes or on your fire escapes, wherever it is that you're tuning in, being able to repeat what we say, La Plena de Puerto Rico.
That's indeed. And cuando hablamos de la plena, no quiere decir que es la única cosa que nos identifican muchas cosas en la música. Y no es la primera tampoco, pero es algo que queremos demostrarle a ustedes, porque la plena es muy popular y ha sido muy popular por generaciones.
Yes.
Sí.
Yes, exactly.
Okay.
Sigue.
Quiere decir que la plena es una reunión, es un junte de culturas que ya estaban dándose en la isla de Puerto Rico, en nuestro país, nuestra nación, para el siglo XIX, 19th century, más o menos, a final del siglo XIX. When people were conscious of being Puerto Rican or being Boricuas already, that they felt that they were Boricuas, and this music happened to embrace that feeling, okay, that sense of belonging, of being Puerto Rican, because everything was happening. The influence of Europe from los españoles, the Spaniards, the native cultures, the first cultures of Puerto Rico, from the Taino Arawak natives, and of course, the people of African descent who were brought by force, unfortunately. But that's how we carry the spirit, that spirit of strength, of perseverance, of also of caring, and the sense of community that brings together la personalidad, the personality of people of Puerto Rico. And that happens to be in every form of Puerto Rican music. Okay? So, cuando hablamos de la plena, and when we talk about the songs and about the instruments, let's talk about the instruments first. The instrument that identifies la plena puertorriqueño, that it's essential, is lo que llamamos la pandereta o pandero. It's a tambourine in English, but in Spanish, pandero o pandereta. Okay? In this case, we're having three panderos.
Three panderos.
You can see that this is very different in the sense of the size, but also because it has a particular role. That's a little bigger, that one that Julia has over there is a little bigger than this, and the tune is different. Okay, so we're gonna show how do we build the rhythm of la plena. So it starts from the bottom up with that instrument that we call seguidor, the biggest and the lowest tone. Julia, go ahead.
Let's say the name one more time so that it can register and hopefully you can repeat with us. Seguidor. Okay? Seguidor.
Is that not clear enough? Then you say seguidor. Okay? Seguidor. Okay? So, dale, Julia, con el seguidor. And that goes right there on the beat. On top of that, we bring the segundo o punteador that answers to the seguidor on top. When you hear that, that's what we call el golpe de la plena. Repeat after me, el golpe de la plena. Okay, and in the beginning of La Plena, there were not, it could be 3, 4 panderos, 5, 6, but only the role, the important role of 2, of the punteador segundo and the seguidor. Of course, there's a very important instrument that we're going to show a little later. It's called the witcher. Okay, but in this case, I'm going to play el requinto, which basically embellishes around the verses and plays against this rhythm. For example, Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal, no la cambio por ninguna. Capital, Puerto Rico,
Es mi tierra natal.
ay, es la tierra de mi abuelo, de mi madre, de mi papá. Puerto Rico, yo te adoro, no te puedo olvidar.
Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal. No la cambio por ninguna, aunque me paguen capital.
Puerto Rico, es mi tierra natal, no la cambio por ninguna, aunque me paguen capital. Okay, that's a very quick demonstration, fast, But if we're going too fast, just let us know. I mean, in the sense you can ask questions, I will be available now, later. No time.
Yeah,
Tomorrow, day after tomorrow, don't worry about it.
We're not going anywhere, and you can always find us on the social media platforms. But directly today, you can drop your questions in the chat, and we'll make sure to address those as best as possible towards the end of today's session. But again, recapping, we are members of Los Pleneros de la 21, streaming live from El Bronx in New York, and sharing a little bit about what is Puerto Rican cultural expression, specifically focusing on La Plena, and a little bit later on we're gonna do some bomba for you all. We've shared the names of these instruments that are part of the plena genre. This is a seguidor. This is
Segundo, and also was playing the role of requinto, which normally when you have more than two rolls of panderos, then you have the highest one, which is el requinto, which was the one that I was demonstrating while singing. But it's a very important element of the singing part. Like I said, this form of music is it's an energy, collecting energy that happens through that collaboration of people and cultures and neighborhoods and humble beginnings in Puerto Rico by the end of 19th century, okay? But it comes all the way back from Africa. And a very important element of the song, of the message, is that call and response. The call and response, maybe you have heard that before, but in the forms of music of Puerto Rico, of that African element, that African feeling, is a very essential element. Call and respond, meaning the call, the announcement, the statement. I'm making a statement as a singer. It's like preaching. And then the response is the people that responds, that approve, that are with you, that are on the same message, on the same page with you, agreeing with what you're saying. That's the sense of community. For example, Puerto Rico es mi tierra natal. No la cambio por ninguna, aunque me paguen un capital. And of course, the people respond to, they agree with me on that, okay?
Can you translate what that chorus means? I think that that is really important for us to also share why call and response is so powerful, right? Because not only, as Juanjo said, do you respond what the lead singer or the person that sends out that call says, we are also responding because we agree with the message, right? We empathize with that message. It's an affirmation. So again, the coro is Puerto Rico, Puerto Rico, meaning yes. Puerto Rico in English. Es mi tierra natal. It is my home country, my homeland.
Yes.
No la cambio por ninguna. I will not trade her for anything. Aunque me paguen un capital. Even if they give me a bunch of money, I will not trade her for anything. No matter where I am, you know, how much money I need, that is something that we do not trade upon.
And you could call that, you know, an opinion, but it's beyond an opinion. It's a feeling that coming from the heart, from the soul. And that's so important in our music. And not only Puerto Rican music, traditional music, what we call folkloric music, any people's folkloric music or traditional music, because it comes from the very nature of the human being, okay, that feels in touch with his and her surroundings, his people, her people, the family, the community, the land. That's so important. And that's Puerto Rico, it was saying that when Pleneros gathered at the beginning, they were hearing messages, like the oral newspaper of the people. But basically what they were is they were watching, and they were being motivated to put songs on, get songs, and create songs, plena songs right on the spot of whatever was happening in the family, in the barrios, in the country. Any daily events, it could be important, even I mean, world events that they found out through the news and stuff, and people were commenting, and they they gather those, those comments and put them into song.
So
Yeah.
if you would actually, I mean, these are things obviously that have been going on for hundreds of years, but if you go to YouTube, if you go to Google, if you look up different groups on Facebook, on Instagram, you will see songs that are being written today that talk about issues of today, right? How, there's a pandemic happening, and
Yes.
all of these feelings and these emotions on how we process or how we live these moments are being captured through song and through drum, and that is how we ensure we retain that memory over the years. So you can check all of that out just by Googling. There's a lot of information out there. Plena de Puerto Rico.
Yes, indeed. And before we continue, I think it's very important to show and to talk about a very essential instrument that is embracing La Plena, not only La Plena, but other forms of music in Puerto Rico, even in the beginnings of Bomba, but we'll talk about that later. And that's a huicharo, okay?
Guicharo, okay? Repeat after me. Guicharo.
Yeah. Why we emphasize and we insist in calling huicharo? Because the jíbaro in Puerto Rico, the person, the man, the woman of the inner country in Puerto Rico call this instrument huicharo or carrancho. And but it's acceptable that you call it guiro. Everybody will understand you what the guiro is. But in Puerto Rico, most of the time it's called huicharo, and a lot of people say guiro also. But here, how it's called? It goes. So this is a very essential instrument in La Plena. So imagine yourself getting ready to go to the desfile, la parada puertorriqueña, right there on Fifth Avenue. Hey, you don't have to go to la parada to feel what you feel in your heart, which is, qué bonita bandera, qué bonita bandera, qué bonita bandera, la bandera puertorriqueña. Qué bonita bandera, qué bonita bandera, qué bonita bandera, la bandera puertorriqueña. Azul, blanca y colorada, y en el medio tiene una estrella. Azul, blanca y colorada, y en el medio tiene una estrella. Qué bonita bandera, mi bandera puertorriqueña. Qué bonita bandera, mi bandera puertorriqueña. Vaya, qué bonita bandera, qué bonita bandera, qué bonita bandera, la bandera puertorriqueña. Qué bonita bandera, qué bonita bandera, qué bonita bandera, la bandera puertorriqueña. Ahí lo tienen, ¿ok? This is the huicharo. And how do we play it? Check this out. This is what we call a puya or puyero, okay? There's a metal post right there, but this is a piece of art, okay? Artisans in Puerto Rico and here in the United States, they spend a lot of years trying to, refine the art of not only making the puyeros or puyas and the huicharo, which is a very fine instrument also. You see all these little lines, how you call these lines, Julio? Estrías in Spanish, okay, very, very thin lines, because that's what it gives. And you know what this is, right? This is a fruit. Esto de el árbol de higuera. It's from higuera. It's
Gourd.
Yes.
It's from the gourd family.
Es una hiedra que se agarra por las paredes por donde quiera se trepa. Una hiedra.
It's a vine.
Yes.
Like it's una enredadera, a vine that really grows across anything that it can grasp onto. Walls, floors.
Exactly. And this is coming from the family of the calabash or pumpkins. Okay, this is a real pumpkin, okay? Just a different kind. As you know, pumpkins have a lot of seeds inside and also the pulp. But then you wait. They wait. Whoever makes this instrument, they wait until it gets dry and hard. But the pulp stays inside, and the seeds. Those are the seeds of the higuera. Okay. A lot of people just take them off. Just cut a hole and take them off and make holes to the instrument. But most of the time they want to keep it like this. Okay. So that's a huicharo para todos ustedes.
And for those of you that are familiar with other musical expressions across the Caribbean, you may have seen an instrument like that that is very familiar to you. As Juanjo said, in Puerto Rico, we call that particular instrument a huicharo. But if you go to Cuba, you see a very similar instrument that's bigger, right, with the lines that are thicker. It's also played with a stick. That is called a guiro. If you go to Dominican Republic, when they play merengue and other traditional types of music, you see a similar instrument like that, but made out of metal, and it's called a guira. So guicharo, guiro, guira, right? And that connects us across the Caribbean with our cousins, basically, through something that we call the African diaspora. It connects us across multiple expressions, not only in the Caribbean, but throughout the Americas.
Yes, indeed. And one thing I like to emphasize is the panderetas. Now these are very fine instruments, also made by artisans, right? But in the beginnings, and still now, those pleneros y pleneras who basically feel that impulse of embracing the music and doing everything. At the beginning, they just built the drum from whatever means were available to them. Sometimes a frame of let's say, of a drum brake of a vehicle, of a bicycle, and then they built the instrument. But now, it's a very fine instrument. This is, you see, the frame is out of wood, and the skin always is a goat skin. Okay. So with that being said, like we said, this is also always call and response. Getting that feeling of encouraging people to respond and to get together, okay, to join in the song. So this song is very popular, Que Bonita Bandera, and the composer, a very iconic musician, traditional musician, trovador, trovero de Puerto Rico, el gran Flor Morales Ramos. For those of you who may know Ramito, the great Ramito. So I encourage you to Google Ramito because he belongs to a family of troveros from Caguas, Puerto Rico. So let's do it again. He was coming from the Barrio Bairoa, just in case if anybody from Caguas over there, okay? So let's do Que Bonita Bandera, and you join in the coro, okay, Julia? 1, 2, plena! Que bonita bandera, que bonita bandera, que bonita bandera, y la bandera Puerto Rico. Que bonita bandera, que bonita bandera, que bonita bandera, la bandera Puerto Rico. Ay, quisiera verla flotando, sobre mi flor que bella, quisiera verla flotando, sobre mi flor que bella. Qué bonita bandera, mira, qué bonita bandera. Arriba, la plena, ¿ok? Ahí lo tienen.
Wonderful. Again,
Wow.
just a reminder, if you have any questions, please do feel free to drop them in the chat and we will address them at the end of our session today. Again, you are tuning in to Sábado Familiar, part of el Museo del Barrio's Casa programs. Also, make sure that you fill out your census so that your voice counts. And we'll talk about that a little bit later on today.
If you're there, just, show a hand over there. Say, hi, hola, ¿cómo está? ¿Estamos bien? Okay? Okay. Now, we show you and we share with you La Plena Puertorriqueña. Now we're going to transition and move a little bit around the room to get together and start some bomba. Vamos a hacer un poquito de bomba puertorriqueña.
So again, we are now exploring the other practice, the other genre that we've been referencing. As Juango resituates himself to the back end of the room, I will take a little bit of time to explain or try to explain what is bomba from Puerto Rico. Can you say bomba? Bomba, right? And some of you may have heard that word before. In this context, bomba from Puerto Rico is not referencing anything negative. On the contrary, it's referencing something beautiful and positive, and affirmation and expression of culture, of pride, of heritage, and of ancestry. Now, bomba from Puerto Rico, very similar to plena, is comprised of various instruments that are all percussion-based in its traditional expression. Now, while plena uses the hand drums called panderetas or panderos, bomba uses two drums, which hopefully you can see here, that are called barriles de bomba. Can you say barriles de bomba? Now, barriles means barrel. Barriles de bomba, bomba barrels. Why? Because these drums are absolutely made out of barrels. Rum barrels, cheese barrels, wine barrels, rice barrels, any type of barrel, any type of vehicle that was used to store food. Now, I'm talking about using to store food because when bomba first came up in Puerto Rico, there was no electricity. So this kind of lets you know that bomba is very old, very ancient. It dates back to about 450 years old, and it is our direct connection to our African ancestry on the island of Puerto Rico. Again, these are expressions that connect us to the African diaspora. So bomba is our direct connection to how our African ancestors who were enslaved and taken from Africa, brought to Puerto Rico, connected to their sense of expression and resilience. Now we spoke about the drums. Can we hear a little bit about how that drum sounds? As you do that, I'm going to put on my skirt.
There you go. So this is a very basic buleo. What we call, when you play the rhythm of la bomba, it's called buleo. From the distance and through camera, it won't notice much the difference but this is quite bigger than this one. Well, this is about 16 inches in diameter. This is about 14, okay? And the main difference is the tone. You see, and the boleador, when you hear that high pitch, this drum is called el primo, okay? Primo.
Primo, not as in cousin, because yes, in Puerto Rico we speak Spanish, but primo as in premier, the first drum. So we now see that in bomba there's multiple languages that are included in its expression, right? Spanish, Creole, and a language called Kikongo that directly connects us again to our African ancestors.
A lot of practitioners also call this el primo, they call it subidor, okay? Subidor, that's, okay. Subidor means to come in and bring up the dynamics of bomba, and you see what I mean, for example. And the role of this instrument basically is to answer back to try to answer precisely with the drum strokes what the dancers are doing in their movements. They start asking the drummer, the primo or subidor player, to respond to them what they are doing in their dance. Okay, so.
Should we demonstrate a little bit of that? I'm wondering, should we try to demonstrate a little bit of that?
Let's try a song and then you come in a little bit, okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
Let's do that.
Again, the musical form of bomba is very simple, and this is the main influence for what happens later, centuries later with plena, okay, and other forms of music with that call and response. And a very, I would say, a very good song to demonstrate is a very old song is a bomba paulé, and paulé, right? Very similar to other kinds of rhythm. It was I first learned through Rafael Cepeda Atiles, and it's a very good way to demonstrate that call and response because I will call and you respond. For example. Sometimes, when we perform, we play with a drum roll. I go, Elise, and you respond, Elise, Eliseu, Elise, Eliseu, Elise,
Elise,
César. Con San Paule.
Con San Paule.
Here we go.
piquetes. Can you say piquetes? Piquetes. Now the piquetes, as Juan had mentioned, is what the drummer that's playing this bomba barril, this barrel drum, again that's called the subidor or the primo, will respond to what the dancer is doing with his or her body, right? But before we do that, we have to enter the space using a paso básico. So that's what I will start doing. Paso básico. Side to side, side to side, side to side, side to side. So if you go side to side, you're more than welcome to join us here in your paso básico, right? You can do this all day and have as just a little bit of the bomba expression from Puerto Rico. Again, a very old, ancient form of expression that connects us back to the African diaspora. Let me catch my breath. And I'm hoping that we have some time just to address a couple of questions, a little bit of technical explanation. I'm not checking my text messages because I'm distracted. I'm checking my text messages because that's how I'm getting your questions sent to me. So I received a text that says, Miss Ann Clark would like to know if the musicians improvise on the banderas, meaning the coros about the bandera. So that's actually a very interesting question, right? Just as bomba dance is improvised, so are the songs that we sing. The verses are improvised. The coro always remains the same because the coro is like our heartbeat. It keeps reminding us what it is that we're singing about, what is the motivation, what is the theme, right? In this case, the question was about the banderas. We were singing about the Puerto Rican flag, right? It could be any flag, but for us, we were singing about the Puerto Rican flag. And the verses, it is a song that is written, right? So we know that there is a certain lyric that we are going to follow just to pay homage to the person who wrote that song, which was?
Flor Morales Ramos, el gran Ramito.
Ramito, Flor Morales Ramos. So when pleneros or singers choose to sing that song, yes, it is our responsibility to sing the verses that were written, but there's also always an element and a part of those songs where the singers can improvise on their verses as well and add on to what the song is telling, right? Yeah. Especially if you're singing it on a rooftop at the beach, right? From your living room. Yes.
Yes, let me add that, for example, Clara from Museo, she requested that we send the lyrics of the songs. And it's like Zulia was saying, yes, we send the lyrics just with the, basically clarifying that when the singer sings this song, normally he or she would not follow the specific order. If you have that song in front of you, I probably didn't follow that specific order. Even sometimes I will make my own verses, improvise, because I'm basically feel that, the vibes and all that and the feeling, and it comes to me. I'm not a singer, I'm not an improviser. There's tremendous singers that can improvise, and they can go forever singing a song. For example, we're in this situation, I would say, aunque vivo bien lejos, yo siempre estoy cerca de ella. Aunque vivo muy lejos, yo siempre estoy cerca de ella. Y qué bonita bandera es mi bandera puertorriqueña. Most of the time, those two last lines would be what we call the refrain, okay? The refrain of the song that helps the singer to basically match the first two lines with those two. Lo que llamamos en español el pie forzado. Okay? Yeah.
You went deep into lyrical theory there so that you can really understand the complexity of an expression that is very beautiful and very deep. We have one more question here asked by Carla Acevedo. Thank you, Carla, for your question. And it is, what are the names of the languages that connects us or that connected us to our ancestors, right? There's many, many languages, but if we are specifically talking about Bomba y Plena, Plena is largely sung in Spanish, right? You will hear certain words, certain types of expressions that really capture either the barrio or the moment in history in which that song was written, especially if we're also singing songs, plenas from New York, you may often hear plenas in Spanglish, right? But if we're talking about bomba, I'm gonna sneeze, so give me 1 second. until it goes. It's gonna go. It's gonna go. If we're talking about bomba, we are specifically also including and thinking about 3 different languages. At the very minimum, 3 different languages. The first one is Spanish, right? Vamos a decir una canción, tambutealo, golpe calina, vamos a bailar esa bombita, como es que va? We're singing in Spanish, right? Español. Then we also have French Creole. So we're thinking about and automatically understanding our connection to the broader Caribbean experience, specifically through Haiti, right? French Creole. When we think about words like the song that Juango had sung earlier, Elise, Eliseo, Elise Cesa, un con San Paulé. That is French Creole. And also with the reference of the name of this drum that we said was primo, not primo as in Spanish cousin, but in the French Creole as the number 1, premier, the first, right? The lead drum. And then the last language is a language called Kikongo, and is the language of the Bakongo people that are our main ancestors and our direct connection to the bomba expression. Now, bomba, we've been saying consistently throughout today, is an example of a Kikongo word. Bomba, bambula, buleador. All of these are Kikongo words that mean different things, but that essentially ask us to remember, to re-remember where we are coming from, where we've come from, who we came from, right? And that is the importance of not only bomba as a practice, but also recognizing that Puerto Rico, a very teeny, 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 teeny island in the Caribbean, is connected to a broader experience that's so much bigger than that island of 100 by 30 miles. So I believe that is the last question of today. But if you have any other questions, or if you happen to watch this live after we conclude our time, you can also follow us on Facebook through social media platforms. Of course, you should also follow in Museo del Barrio on their platforms. And wait a second, hold on. Oops, one more question. Last question from several people is if we teach classes. Absolutely. Los Pleneros de la 21 is an organization that is based very, very close by in Museo del Barrio, and in a building called the Julia de Burgos Cultural Center on 106th Street and Lexington Avenue. Every year, hopefully we will be back in the fall teaching classes face-to-face, right? We offer classes in dance, in drumming, in singing, and in other artistic expressions related to Bomba y Plena practices called the Bomba y Plena Community Workshops. And these are programs that go from October through June of every year, and they're open to kids of all ages. I think our youngest student is about 2 years old. I was a member of that program way back. I'm not gonna give you how many years ago that was, because it was a long time. But it's open to children of all ages as well as their parents. And we also offer classes for adults in a program called Tambutealo Tuesdays and the percussion workshops, which are called?
Yes, indeed. Let me just add that, we're trying to make a big effort and fast effort to put together some workshops for adults by the end of June. Probably take around to sometime on July. Just a couple of workshops to give you, to keep that sense of unity and togetherness in the distance. I know it's opening up a little bit, but we need to be very careful on that. And also, very important, stay in tune to what's happening, not only with los Pleneros, to Museo del Barrio. Please give to el Museo del Barrio, because that institution is that identify us and is a pillar in our community. It's so important because it gathers that spirit of that community of El Barrio. Okay, important. And point of priority in Bomba. As you could see, I was trying to answer back to Julia with the primo, but remember, in a bombazo or un baile de bomba, you will see buleador players and you will see a primo player performing that role. And also the other instruments that I think Julia showed, which is the maraca and the gua, very important. The gua is the first sticks that you play on the side. Sometimes a different wooden surface or even the same barrel on the side that matches, that embrace that rhythm. What's important to give you a context. And you can see many samples of that if you go online on YouTube, and you will see a lot of them. They are all over the place. But important, again, we are just wrapping up on our own children's and community workshops. We are going further with the adult workshops. So, we're gonna stay in touch.
Yeah,
please.
and absolutely, please, again, feel free to connect with us through our social media platforms on our Facebook page. You can send us a message through there to ask your specific questions, or even follow us on our events publications list on our Facebook platform, so that you can see the types of programs that we are offering, not only the children's workshops or the adults workshops, but also different things that we do throughout the community. Again, thank you all for tuning in today for El Museo del Barrio's En Tu Casa program, Sábado Familiar. And it's really important, just the way that we've been expressing our voice and our history, that you also find a way to do that as well, not only through your music, but filling out the census of this year. This is something that happens only once every 10 years. It only takes 5 minutes to do it. You can do it online. You can also fill out the paper ballot that you may have received in your mail. You can go to the website 2020census.gov, and that is a way that you can make sure that your voice, your name, your household is represented in a lot of the legislation that is happening, not only in a city-state level, but also on a federal level. So thank you very much for your time today. My name is Julia Loisa Gutierrez Rivera. This is
Wango. Everybody calls me Wango. Juan
Wango.
Jose Gutierrez Rodriguez, everybody calls me Wango. Remember the simplicity of life in these difficult times. Simple. Like Julia was saying, the remembrance comes from our ancestors. When you hear drum like this, or play a boom, baka, boom, 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 that brings you in contact with your identity, with your that simplicity, that's the remembrance, like a smell, the sense of arroz con gandules. Okay?
It's lunchtime, y'all.
I'm telling you.
It's lunchtime. He's talking about arroz con gandules. It's time to eat.
Yes.
So thank you very much again. Enjoy the rest of your Saturday. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. We hope to see you in person, live and direct, hopefully soon. But in the meantime, take care, stay safe, and enjoy your family.
Yeah, may the future brightens you with a lot of light and a lot of health. Mucha salud para usted, muchas bendiciones. Gracias. Gracias al Museo. Sábado Familiar, stay tuned because they're going back with Sábado Familiar this Saturday, next Saturday on. Okay, so gracias. Cuídense mucho. Bendiciones.